I took the dated kitchen in my parents' basement from this to this to this, using almost entirely IKEA kitchen products. And I'm going to break down exactly what it all cost and how I did it. Hi, I'm Eva, and on this channel, I do home tours, talk about building a short term rental business, document my property hunt in France, and journey to becoming an interior designer. I share finances and the process of trying to live a freer life. And if that sounds interesting to you, you should hit the subscribe button to be notified about new videos. Welcome to our custom IKEA kitchen. I designed this kitchen in the fall of 2021, and it was installed in the spring of 2022. What you see is basically all IKEA, save for the backsplash and the stove, the vent hood, and these floating shelves. Otherwise, well, I guess also the tap and the kitchen knobs and handles. But otherwise, it's all IKEA, from the cabinets to the sink, to the countertops, to the built-in appliances, which I'll show you in a second. And we renovated this entire kitchen for under $15,000. You might be wondering, why did we renovate this kitchen? And right now we are in my childhood house that I grew up in. We are in the basement nanny suite. My parents moved into this house when I was in high school, so in the early aughts. And this suite was a nanny suite when we moved in. The people who used to live here before, their grandmother lived in the suite. And it had probably been renovated in the 80s, so it was already dated when we moved in, but we didn't really use the space all that much. We used it mostly as like a rec room and for somewhere to stay when my grandparents came. So it was really dated. It was a creamy beige color. It needed an update, and part of why we did it was because we were in the pandemic and we decided it would be really great if this space could be a space that we could live in temporarily, but also maybe down the line would be a space that my parents could use in their retirement if they needed a place to live with us, for instance. It was really forward looking, maybe too forward looking, because they're only just about to retire, but that was sort of what triggered it. At the time, we were in the dead of the pandemic and we were trying to figure out how to better use our real estate assets, and this was one of the things we thought about. This place had really sort of fallen in disrepair. There was some water damage that was happening at the back of the house over here because of a poorly installed window. And once we started the renovation, we also discovered that there were asbestos floors under the existing laminate floors. So it really needed the work, and we got going. That said, we originally had planned on sort of keeping the footprint of the kitchen for sure, and even the cabinets, maybe just refacing them. But as we got going and we saw that there was that more extensive water damage than we thought on the back wall and that asbestos flooring, it became obvious that we were going to have to replace the entire kitchen, including the base cabinets. We did end up keeping the original floor print almost entirely. The only difference was that we moved the stove, which had been on this wall, over here to be on an external wall so that we could vent, and we moved the sink here. So there was a little bit of plumbing that we had to reroute, but otherwise there wasn't any sort of like structural moving of anything. One of the fun things about having gone with an IKEA kitchen is the IKEA Kitchen Planner tool on their website. It lets you design the layout and also estimate the costs for the kitchen. I had no experience with 3D space design software before, and it took me a little bit of time to get the hang of it, but they've since made the software even easier, and I highly recommend it as a way to experiment with what your kitchen could look like. But if you're not really into that kind of thing, you can also book an appointment with an IKEA kitchen planner and they will do it for you. So let's start with the fridge. Recently, IKEA introduced integrated appliances, an integrated fridge, into their options. And so we decided to do that because this is a small space and we knew that doing an integrated fridge would make it look less busy. Otherwise, the kitchen is pretty small and you would see appliance if we hadn't done the integration. Right now, it looks like it's like mostly all cabinets, but you will see that it's actually a fridge and a freezer. Now, it's a smaller fridge, but for us, we're two people, it's enough space. And then we have a little bit of storage space above the fridge because we wanted to take the cabinets up to the ceiling. Luckily, our ceilings are just over 80 inches, and that is the shortest option that IKEA has for the fridge. They also have for their integrated cabinets, they also have 90 inches if you are not in a basement and you have more space. So, and then to create this look of a pantry, we matched the fridge door to this cabinet, which is just a cabinet, it's not a fridge, and it acts as our pantry, and it hides our microwave so that we are not using up counter space for the microwave. And so we have more pantry space down there. This is basically where we keep all of our dry goods and some extra dishes. Okay, so that's our fridge and our pantry. And then down here we have our integrated dishwasher. So again, it looks like it's just a cupboard, but it's a full dishwasher. So the fridge and the dishwasher were both IKEA appliances. That way it was just easy to integrate them into the integrated cabinetry, but I think you can use outside appliances as well. After the dishwasher, we have this Farmhouse sink, which is from IKEA, and I think this sink is about $300. So it's a very affordable Farmhouse sink. Under the sink, we have a pull-out drawer, and here we keep our garbage, our recycling, and our compost. And then next to the sink, we have another pull-out drawer where we have all of our oils and vinegars, and then salt and pepper, some trivets, and our oven mitt. Forgot that word for a second. And then finally, we have a little cabinet here that has some cleaning supplies, our KitchenAid, garbage bags, all that jazz. And then the pièce de résistance, in a way, is this island, which didn't exist in the previous kitchen. And what's great about it is it gives us a ton of extra storage. The previous kitchen obviously didn't have much cabinetry. It was basically the same footprint, had a couple very small uppers, but there wasn't much you could fit in there. And we grew to love the functionality of IKEA drawers in the kitchen at our last rental, where we could see just how much they could hold and how convenient it was to grab stuff out of them as opposed to cabinets. So we have a set of 4 drawers here where we keep pots and pans, our potatoes and onions, and just like miscellaneous baking things, dish towels, all the instruction manuals for everything, and then a full drawer for Tupperware and utensils, which is really handy. The counters are also IKEA. They are just a laminate walnut. They're one of the mid-range sort of counters that they offer, unless you're going up into the stone, which you can get quartz from IKEA now. The counters were something that we decided to save on. So in a perfect world, I would not want wood counters. We had them at our last apartment, and though I like the look of them, they're not super practical. If you get any water on them, you need to dry it up right away or they'll warp. And so we went with these because this isn't the house's primary kitchen, and we were familiar with how to use them and treat them so that they last as long as they can. And we were looking to sort of save on the budget with the counters, whereas we splurged in other places like the faucet and the backsplash. One thing that is not great about the counters is that they come in standard lengths, and if you have to cut them like we did here to fit our island, the veneer edge banding you get doesn't adhere super strongly, and food can get stuck in between. It's fine if it's butting up against another cabinet or an appliance or against more counter, but we had to reinforce it with super glue at the end of our island, so if you can use the standard lengths, that's ideal to get that clean edge finish. Part of my inspiration for this kitchen was DeVol Kitchens, which is a English kitchen design house, and they make really great farmhouse kitchens, and as you can see, this is a sort of farmhouse style kitchen. And one of the things I loved about that was the brass hardware. And I had fallen in love with a DeVol faucet, but they were too expensive and a little bit hard to source. And so what I ended up doing was finding one on Etsy from a dealer called Inside East. A fair amount of interior designers use this dealer, but the brass fixtures that they have are actually cheaper than stuff that you can maybe get from big box stores here in Canada. And I couldn't find this exact sort of more vintagey, old-timey farmhouse style. All I kept finding were very modern brass fixtures, which didn't really suit the design of the kitchen. So I went with this one, and we love the unlacquered brass finish because it just ages naturally, and you don't really have to worry about like wet spots or cleaning spots in the way that you do with other faucets. That said, this faucet has a leak problem that we've now had to have fixed 3 times, and it took like a year to get them to send us a replacement. and next time it starts leaking again, we will use the replacement. But otherwise, they have really great reviews, and I love the look of it. But just beware that when you're buying from a dealer off of Etsy in Morocco, where they're located, it's really hard to go and return and exchange your product if it comes back with a fault. To match the faucet, I got a brass drain from Home Hardware. It's almost the same color. It's not unlacquered brass, but it was only $45. Whereas if I wanted to order one from Inside East, it would have been double the price plus shipping and duties. And so there are options for how you can do things a little bit cheaper and have the fixtures match here as well. Keeping with the brass style, we also got brass knobs for our cabinets. These are not unlacquered, so they will always look polished and shiny. These are from Lee Valley, and they have such a huge selection of knobs and pulls. And I actually went to the store in North Toronto, and I was so overwhelmed by the choice. But it was really affordable for all the knobs for this kitchen, from the different styles of sort of these pull, what are these called? Anyway, from this half circle style to this more standard pull to these little round ones we have on this side of the kitchen. Everything together was just $67. So really affordable for brass knobs. And then we also went with brass sconces. These are from West Elm. Again, I had wanted some beautiful ceramic sconces from DeVol, but that was out of our price range. So we went with these from West Elm and we got them on sale instead. Probably my favorite part of the kitchen is the backsplash. This is Zalige tile. It's also a Moroccan tile. You've seen it everywhere. You've seen it in Amber Interiors houses. You've seen it all over Pinterest. I really loved the look. I love how the light bounces off of it. I like that the tiles are not all perfect squares and that they are not all the exact same color. And it goes so beautifully with the walnut counters and the brass fixtures. And I'm so glad we did it. We had to order it custom from the States because I could not find true Zalige anywhere at any of the tile suppliers that I looked at in Toronto. They had Zalige style tiles, but they were factory made, whereas true Zalige tiles are made by hand in Morocco. So I ordered these from Zia Tiles in the States, and I had to go through customs to get them shipped. You have to get like a sort of middleman customs vendor. That said, Zia Tiles makes the instructions for how to do that on their website very easy, and they're very helpful with it. So it was not at all a problem. I had to pay US dollars for them, obviously, and then pay customs when they cross the border. And they do have a minimum buy. I think you have to buy minimum 2 cases. I think we bought 3 because we used them on our backsplash and we also used them on our fireplace hearth. But hearth, okay. Some people say hearth, don't they? Okay, I'll go with the WASP pronunciation. Okay, so we use them both in the backsplash and also in our fireplace hearth. They were about $1,000 US, and when I do the conversion, I think the portion that we used in the kitchen was just over $1,100. So it was also another splurge, but it's well worth it, and I love it, and I want to use it again in another renovation. Another thing we really wanted to do was have a floating shelf, but by that point, we had used up a lot of our budget on other things, and we knew we wanted a natural looking wood. We didn't want to match the counters because it's a dark basement and we wanted to keep things lighter. That's part of why we didn't go with uppers. So what we actually did was use 12-foot wide pine board from Home Depot, 12 feet wide. So what we actually did was use 12-inch wide pine board, 12 by 1.5. So this is 1.5 width board from Home Depot, and we had our contractor sand it and seal it with just a matte clear sealer. But because we went with such a cheap wood, you can see that it isn't exactly flat. It's like this piece, for instance, is quite curved, but it's anchored into the wall pretty well with butterfly. Well, where it can go in the studs, it's in the studs. Then in the places where it's not in the studs, he used butterfly clips to secure it. And so far, so good. It's been up for over a year, and we do keep a fair amount of pottery on it. This is a little bit pared down compared to what we usually have on the shelves, and we haven't had any problems or any fear of it coming down. One regret we have about this kitchen is our vent hood. It's actually a very well-reviewed vent hood that I bought online, specifically to have it concealed, and we sort of did this custom topper, which we built ourselves to save money again in hindsight would not do that, would have a cabinet maker do it, but that was going to be just $1,000 just for this little box, wood box. So I don't know, trade-offs. But the vent hood, for whatever reason, does a really crappy job of actually pulling the fumes, smoke, whatever out. I think it might be because it's not like properly sealed, but just a reminder that sometimes you cut corners for pricing and you pay the price in other ways. The vent hood and the stove range oven are the only appliances we didn't get from Ikea. So the vent hood I got online, it was about $350, and the range is a Samsung range. We really wanted one that didn't have a back so that we could show off the tile, and I'm really glad we did that. And this was about $1,500 from Leon's. Let me take you through some of my favorite sort of decor items and kitchen items that we have in here. You can see in multiple places up on the wall that we have this Romanian pottery, which is from a region in Romania called Horezu. If you didn't know or couldn't tell by my name on YouTube, I am Romanian. I was born there. My whole family is from there, and we moved to Canada when I was 5. So this is a really nice nod to my Romanian heritage, and we had quite a bit of this lying around the house. And I used to not like it as a kid, but as design styles evolve, I've really grown to like it. It also happens to be quite popular now. You've probably seen similar kitchens in some popular design influencers' kitchen like Lucy Williams. And there's an importer who brings a bunch of these dishes in from Romania, and they're based in London, and they're called Casa de Folklore, and you can find them on Instagram and you can buy through them. I was lucky that I got to just buy mine in Romania, which really discounted the price. So if you ever find yourself in Eastern Europe, definitely go and buy it from the source in the markets. It's a lot more affordable. So like I said, there's more of that pottery up here. Then we have some blue glass tumblers, some blue glasses that we got from our favorite Mexican restaurant here in Toronto, El Sol, up on the Danforth. And just some regular Ikea drink glasses. This is again Horezu pottery. This is a vase that Edward's mom made for us. This is some pottery that I bought from the pottery studio I sometimes do pottery at. I'll link it down below. These are some tiles that I got from another potter in California on the boardwalk in Santa Cruz. They are a Monterey cypress and a redwood, which are two of my favorite California trees, and I'm realizing how much pottery I have in this kitchen now that's from different sources. Here we have a little bowl that we bought in Provence on our honeymoon that we use for soy sauce and dipping sauces, but I really liked the glaze finish on that. And another piece of pottery, a mug that Edward's parents, it's like black lava pottery that Edward's parents got us in Oaxaca. The painted E above there, Edward's parents got me for my birthday from their trip to Italy. This piece of art my mom got in Provence for us and was part of the party favors we gave out at our wedding. It's a reproduction of a watercolor of the landscape there in Provence. And then over here, I have a iron trivet that I bought antiquing in Niagara-on-the-Lake with my mom, and another little piece of antique French, well, I think it looks French pottery that I got antiquing in Niagara-on-the-Lake. And lastly, our spoon rest that Edward and I got in Romania on his first trip to Romania with me a few years ago. So yeah, I love that we have these shelves because they really let us decorate and bring personality into the kitchen. And I'd say that the kitchen is the only finished space in our basement renovation right now. And I really love it. And I wish it wasn't in a basement because then it would be my perfect kitchen. So that's the main part of our kitchen, but we do also have sort of a dining area adjacent to it. We have an extendable dining table that I got from my friend and former producer at CBC. She was getting rid of it from her old cottage and she gave it to us for free. And I got some nice brass casters for it to sort of elevate it a bit, and I really love the legs. And then I bought these chairs off of Facebook Marketplace that I think complement it and the farmhouse look really nice. They are sort of seagrass reeded chairs, and I got the set of 4 for $120, which was a great deal. This is an Ikea pendant. We haven't finished the setup on this side of the kitchen yet, and once we settle on a final position for a table, we are thinking of maybe doing a built-in bench. Then we will move the pendant to actually be centered to the table, but for now we live with it being off center. And over here we want to do, we're still kind of deciding. At first we had planned to do a built-in bench seating that went all the way around. but now we're thinking we could really use a dedicated desk space in this basement, and this is the best lit part of the basement. We actually had a new window put in as part of the renovation, which really gave the whole basement a lot more light, and I'm really happy that we did that. So we're thinking about doing a built-in desk across the back here that at least one of us can sit at, but potentially both of us can sit at if we need the space. So stay tuned for that update. We also have more sort of vintage store finds and pottery and Romanian pottery over here from my family's trips to Romania. More on the table. It's a bit excessive, actually, I'm realizing now, but I really like it. So yeah, that is the kitchen in its current incarnation. I'm really happy with it, and I hope it gives you an idea of what you can get at an IKEA kitchen, how much you can do with a small budget, and where you might want to splurge versus where you might want to save. If you liked this tour, stay tuned for more videos about our basement renovation. I have more before and afters coming at you with the bedroom and the living room, and I will share costs and the whole process. In the meantime, if you have any questions about this IKEA kitchen or how we planned it, please go ahead and leave a comment down below and subscribe for future videos. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.